Igniting curiosity across depots, command centers, and beyond. Welcome to your weekly Depot AI Brief, where emerging AI meets mission-ready insights.
Always great to be here.
This is episode 13, AI Innovations Transforming Army Operations.
And we have a lot of ground to cover today.
We really do. So today we're breaking down exactly how these AI updates impact our four core roles, from the shop floor to the executive suite, and we'll wrap up with key highlights and insights on the commercial tools flashing on our industry radar.
Yeah, and I think the big thing to keep in mind for this deep dive is that across the OIB, or the Organic Industrial Base, we are officially past the hype cycle.
Okay, it's not just theory anymore.
Exactly. AI is actively deployed, it's on the line, the sensors are live, and it's about speed and precision now. We are accelerating the human element, not replacing it.
I love that. So let's start right where the real work gets done, right? On the shop floor with the artisan or mechanic.
The ones actually turning the wrenches.
Yeah, exactly. So I was looking at these new commercial AI vision systems that are rolling out for structural inspections, and the numbers are just crazy. We are talking about inspecting 150 weld seams in 40 seconds.
It's unbelievable.
Right, with a 97 to 99% detection accuracy, which directly translates to a 94% reduction in downstream weld failures.
Yeah, and for places like CCAT or Corpus Christi Army Depot, doing that heavy aviation structural repair, I mean, a 94% drop in failures is just a staggering operational advantage.
Oh, absolutely. It's basically like having a superhuman inspector who, just never blinks, looking over your shoulder the whole time.
Yeah, and the scale of that advantage is even crazier when you look at the surface defect detection. Like, those systems are processing metal at 1,200 meters per minute.
Wait, 1,200 meters a minute?
Yeah, and to pull that off, they have to use something called edge GPU processing.
Okay, unpack that for me. How does that actually work in practice? Why call it edge?
Well, so think about traditional cloud computing, right? Usually, a machine takes a picture, sends that data to a server in a data center hundreds of miles away.
Right, it has to travel.
Exactly. The server analyzes it, sends a signal back. That round trip takes time, but edge GPU processing bolts the computing power directly onto the inspection machine itself. So it's on the edge of the network.
Oh, wow. So there's no round trip.
Zero latency. So as a sheet of aluminum is just flying by at Mach 2, the system is spotting microscopic scratches and coding defects without ever slowing down the line.
That speed is it's wild. And it ties right into that 2026 AI-driven preventive maintenance guide from AMCOM, right? The Army Aviation and Missile Command.
Yeah, AMCOM is really pushing us away from reactive shutdowns.
Right, because instead of waiting for a part to physically break, the AI is using continuous sensor data, like tiny spikes in vibration or temperature.
Yeah, to predict latent failure modes, which lets us schedule planned changeovers instead of dealing with emergency snapped parts.
But, okay, here's my question. If the system is catching all these tiny latent defects at that speed, how does a mechanic manage that sudden flood of fault data? I feel like they'd just be completely overwhelmed by alerts.
Yeah, managing that cognitive load is the critical bottleneck right now. To understand how we solve it, you have to look at what the 4th Infantry Division just did at Fort Carson.
Oh, with the targeting networks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They used AI to prosecute 15 targets in one single hour. They compressed multiple dense layers of human verification into basically near real-time execution.
Right, so the speed of combat is accelerating, so the speed of maintenance has to match it.
Exactly that. That battlefield speed is the benchmark. Because when a sensor flags an anomaly, an artisan on the floor cannot spend 3 hours flipping through dense PDF manuals,
Right, they need answers right then.
Yeah, and this is where our authorized Department of Defense environment tools step in. So inside the IL-5 environment, which just means the network is cleared for CUI, or controlled unclassified information.
Secure, basically.
Right. Secure. Artisans can use tools like Ask Sage or Copilot securely.
Okay, so what is Ask Sage actually doing for the mechanic in that exact moment?
Think of it like a universal translator. It takes that raw telemetry, which is just a jagged, confusing line chart of vibration spikes, and instantly cross-references it against thousands of pages of historical repair data and tech manuals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It finds the specific fault profile and translates the alert into a step-by-step repair plan. It strips away all the noise.
So it just hands them an actionable directive. That is a huge shift.
A massive paradigm shift.
But that naturally begs the question, right? If artisans and sensors are generating oceans of data every minute, who is making sense of the bigger picture? which brings us up the chain to the analyst.
Right, the data crunchers.
Exactly. Because finding one cracked weld is the mechanic's job, but realizing that, say, a specific batch of welds from a specific supplier always cracks in the cold, that's an analyst's job.
And piecing together those enterprise-wide trends, I mean, that used to be a monumental manual task. To fix that, Defense Secretary Hegseth just put out a memo on January 9th directing all components to establish federated data catalogs.
Okay, let's translate that Pentagon speak for a second. What does a federated data catalog actually mean?
Basically, stop hoarding your data in silos. Put it in one unified library and make it accessible, so the supply chain team and the maintenance depot aren't using completely separate databases anymore.
Ah, so it links them all together securely.
Exactly, across all classification levels. And the DoD Cybercrime Center is heavily leaning into this too, using AI-powered threat hunting to sweep this massive pool of data for vulnerabilities.
Okay, but here's where I have to throw up a warning flag. I was reading this new paper from the Air Force Research Lab, and they are sounding the alarm on handing all this analytical work over to AI.
Yeah, it's a really valid concern.
Right, because they warned that heavy reliance on LLMs, or large language models, can actually erode native human judgment. They said it homogenizes thinking.
It disincentivizes nonlinear reasoning.
Exactly. The intuition that analysts rely on to spot rare exceptions.
And there's a mechanical reason for that. A 2026 analysis dug into why LLMs hallucinate. You know, when the AI just confidently lies to you.
Yeah, the confident hallucinations are the worst.
Right, and it showed that those hallucination rates are tied to the model's underlying incentives.
Wait, what do you mean by incentives? The model has a motive.
Well, think of an LLM like an incredibly eager-to-please intern, right? Its programmed objective is just to provide you with a fluent response. Gets points for sounding correct. It doesn't actually have an objective function for absolute factual truth.
Oh, I see. It's just trying to complete the pattern.
Exactly. It isn't lying on purpose. It's just optimizing its goal to give you an answer, even if it has to invent the details to make the sentence flow.
Wow. It's like relying on GPS so much that you completely forget how to navigate your own neighborhood.
Right, until you drive right into a lake.
Yeah. So I have to push back here. If these models confidently hallucinate and erode our judgment, why should analysts use them at all?
Because the alternative is being buried alive. I mean, human intuition alone cannot process a federated data catalog with millions of parts in real time.
Fair point.
The logistics community handles this through XEM, or the cross-enterprise management approach. It's all about using AI to augment human intuition, not replace it.
Okay, so how do we actually put guardrails on that eager intern?
For the analysts, Army Vantage, the authorized powerhouse here, it pulls securely from those data catalogs, and then to synthesize it, they can use GenAI.mil. But, and this is key, they have to use strategic prompting techniques.
Like what?
Like explicitly including negative constraints or unanswerable questions in their prompts.
Oh, so telling the AI, if the answer isn't in this specific data set, tell me you don't know.
Exactly. You force it to be reliable by constraining it. You don't ask for the answer, you ask it to prove its work against the raw data.
That is depot smart right there. Okay, so the analysts have constrained the AI, they've found the trends, but an insight is completely useless if you don't have the workflow to act on it.
Which brings us to our third group, the supervisor.
Exactly, because team leads need agile workflows to direct their people. And honestly, the administrative burden on supervisors right now is just crushing.
It really is. Army CIO Darciga recently called our fragmented service systems a waste of time.
Which is pretty blunt.
But he's right. If a supervisor has to log into 4 different systems just to figure out who is qualified to fix a part, we are losing speed. That's why Mark Gorak is leading a new enterprise-wide cyber workforce management system to integrate all that.
And we're already seeing the results. Teams that are automating their work order workflows are cutting average response times by 50% or more.
It's incredible. AI is applying predictive analytics for scheduling and shift optimization too.
But, if AI is taking over the scheduling and having the response time, what does the supervisor's day-to-day actually look like now? Are we just removing red tape, or is the job fundamentally changing?
It's fundamentally changing. It shifts the supervisor from reactive firefighting to proactive resource allocation.
So less pushing paper.
Much less.
Mm-hmm.
Supervisors can use Ask Sage inside the DoD network to automate all those clunky rostering workflows. So if a specific defect pops up, they can instantly query personnel capabilities.
Oh, to see who has the exact certification for that weld?
Right, and who has available hours. It removes all that friction, freeing the supervisor up to focus on team mentoring and complex problem solving.
They basically become tactical coaches.
Exactly.
Okay, so to support all these lightning-fast workflows across the mechanics, analysts, and supervisors, the highest levels of command have to build massive infrastructure, which brings us to the executive.
The invisible foundation of everything we've talked about.
Right. You can't run edge GPUs on outdated server racks. So the Army just reached a conditional agreement with the Carlyle Group and Cyrusone to build hyperscale data centers at Fort Bliss and Dugway. And they're doing it at no upfront cost to taxpayers.
Which is fascinating. Private capital is financing these massive AI engines on underutilized Army land.
Right, and the Army gets priority access. And right alongside that, there's that $20 billion 10-year contract awarded to Anduril Industries for AI battlefield tech. But as an executive, I have to ask, with Anduril getting $20 billion and private companies financing our data centers, are we outsourcing too much of our strategic advantage to the private sector?
It is the defining tension right now. But this public-private partnership is a strategic imperative for one simple reason: speed.
Yeah.
We cannot spend 10 years debating a data center build when the tech evolves every 6 months. The executive's role is balancing that rapid adoption with strict compliance.
And that balance is heavily contested. Just look at the ongoing legal dispute between Anthropic and the Pentagon. A federal judge actually blocked the Pentagon's supply chain risk designation against them.
Yeah, we have to look at this impartially, because it highlights a massive policy vacuum on military AI governance. On one side, the government has to ensure security, right? They need rigorous guardrails for autonomous weapons.
But on the other side, tech experts argue that blurry lines kill innovation. If the government fails to draw clear regulatory boundaries, they threaten the whole tech pipeline.
Right, it's the clash between commercial techs move fast and break things, and the military's need for absolute oversight. And for commanders navigating this, tools like Army Vantage are critical.
Because it lets them track the ROI of these massive investments.
Exactly. They can monitor readiness metrics securely and maintain total visibility.
Okay, so we've covered the authorized DoD environment top to bottom. But to stay truly depot smart, we have to look at what's brewing outside the wire. It is time for the industry radar.
And as a reminder, these are home lab or industry awareness tools only. They are not currently authorized for CUI or depot networks.
Loud and clear. First up, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang is basically claiming that AGI, artificial general intelligence, is achieved now if you define it as an AI that can run a tech company on its own.
That is a staggering claim, but the commercial capabilities are undeniably accelerating.
Yeah. But with that comes major security notes. The AI coding company Cursor just admitted its new Composer 2 model was actually built on top of Moonshot AI's foundation model.
Which is a Chinese company.
Exactly. So an American developer could unknowingly pass data through a foreign adversary's architecture.
And that is exactly why the Pentagon is so strict about supply chain risk. You have to know what is under the hood.
Absolutely. And real quick, open source audio and video are exploding. Mistral released an open source TTS model, Cohere has a new transcription model, and Google's Lyria 3 Pro is generating complex music tracks from just text.
The line between human and AI-generated media is basically gone in the commercial space, which loops right back to the Analyst challenge of navigating synthetic data.
Seriously. So bringing this all together, from autonomous weld inspections to hyperscale data centers, the true power of Army AI lies not in replacing human judgment, but in clearing the path for it.
Yeah. And I'll leave you with a final thought to mull over. If AI models are eventually trained entirely by other AI outputs, and the human workforce is increasingly scheduled and directed by algorithms, how do we ensure the artisan's touch and human ingenuity aren't lost in the loop?
That is the million-dollar question. Thanks for joining us. Whether you're turning wrenches in the hangars or crunching numbers for the command team, you are the engine that keeps Army aviation ready. Stay safe, stay innovative, and we'll see you on the next Depot AI Brief.